Hi everybody, my name's Marissa. Welcome to my channel, Married with Books. And my husband Peter will be here in the video a little bit later. But I am here today to make an exciting, what I think is an exciting video, and that is the new TBR game that I've come up with to play hopefully every month. We'll see how it goes. But basically that TBR game is going to be based off the board game Res Arcana. We pronounce it Res Arcana. I've heard other people say Arcana. I'm not actually sure on the pronunciation, but I say Res Arcana, so we're just gonna go with that. But basically, so Peter and I love board games. It's actually how we met, was through playing board games. So I was trying to think of a way to make like a fun TBR game. There's lots of TBR games out there. There's lots of TBR games out there. I think it kind of started with Becca's Bookopoly, and then there's Cody's Wheel of TBR. J.D. Ray Reed's does TBR Pursuit. I was just watching her March video, TBR video, and there's many others. Those are just a few. And then, yeah, so there's different ways that people do their TBRs every month. So some of them I've seen are kind of those classic family games like Monopoly for Bookopoly. So let me put this down. So those games are like basically based off the kind of roll and move system. So you like roll a die, move a certain number of spaces, and whenever you land on, that's your prompt. Then there's kind of the other TBR games where they're based off board games that are a little bit more intricate. So there's ones like Ticket to Ride. That's one I've seen, or that's the main one I've seen attempted is Ticket to Ride. But anyway, so I wanted to do one, like I said, that was a little bit more of a strategy game, so like Ticket to Ride, but I wanted to do something different. So Res Arcana is one of Peter and I's favorite board games, definitely one of my favorites, and it's a great two-player game, which is really awesome. I don't always like playing two-player games, but since it's, you know, the two of us here in the house and can't have a lot of people over during this pandemic, we've had to find some other like things to play just the two of us. So this is one that I really enjoy. So I'm just gonna start off telling about how this board game works, just in general. I'm not gonna go into all the specific rules. I'm just gonna give a general idea of how this game works, and then I'm gonna talk about how I'm making this into a TBR game. So in Res Arcana, you're playing as dueling mages, and you're basically like using magical artifacts and summoning like creatures, demons, dragons, all sorts of things to duel the other mage. And you're collecting resources throughout the game, and you use those resources to get places of power, and you use those places of power to get more points and more resources and things like that. So basically when you start the game, you're going to start with two mages to choose from. So you get your choice. So you just basically shuffle the mage deck and you get your choice, and you only get to pick one. So for example, well, here's some of the mage cards, and all my cards are sleeved, so if there's a glare, that's because of the card sleeves. But basically your mage gives you a power that's unique to you, and it can kind of guide how you play the game, because there's different strategies to go after. So you get a mage. So for example, let me show you an example. So this is the diviner mage. So he gives a red resource every round. Okay, basically he has that power where you draw 3 cards and then discard 3. So it helps you cycle through your deck. And then you get a deck of 8 cards. So these are the artifacts, your creatures, your demons, everything like that. So you're gonna get 8 of these cards. And those are only the 8 cards that you have for the whole game. And you don't get them all at once. You get a deck of 8 cards, and then you start out the first round, you get to draw the top 3, and those are the 3 that you start with. And then you only get an additional card at the start of each round. You get to draw another card, but otherwise those are the only cards you have to play with. And then you have to spend resources to play the cards in front of you, and then you can use their powers. And then one more thing I need to explain for the game, just so you can understand how the TBR works. Well, actually two things. So one more thing is just there's this first player token. So this starts with whoever, you just randomly decide who will go first. And then during each round, people pass. And if you pass first, then you get this first player token. So it could be that whoever starts with first player gets to be first player for the rest of the game, or it could switch just depending on how the rounds go. The final thing I wanted to talk about, again, there's more to the game, but I'm not going to get into everything here. The final thing I wanted to talk about was the monuments. So there's always going to be 2 monuments up for sale, and basically they cost gold. So gold is one of the 5 resources in the game, and it's really hard to get. But basically all of these cost 4 gold, so you can, if you want, on your turn, you can spend 4 gold to get the monument, and they're all worth points. They're all worth either 1 or 2 points. And to win the game, you have to be the first person to 10 points or more. So basically at the end of every round, you check how many points you have. If you have 10 points or more, then it triggers the end game, and then whoever has the most points at that time would win. So it's basically a race to whoever can get to 10 points or more first. All of that to say, I know that was a lot, but all of that to say that I decided to make this into a TBR game with the following rules. So Peter and I will play the game, and we'll show clips of us playing the game in a bit. Alright, so how I did this is I went through all of the mages and I assigned a prompt to each of the mages. So there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a possibility of 14 mages in the game, so I went and did a prompt specific to each mage. So just to give you a couple examples, like the scholar, if you're the scholar, you have to read a book over 500 pages. If you're the seer, you have to read a 5-star prediction, so on and so forth. So whichever mage you choose, boom, that decides your first prompt for your TBR. Then I went and I assigned a prompt to all of the artifacts. So remember I said you get a deck of 8 cards for the game. The rule that I came up with is by the end of the game, you won't necessarily have played all 8 of your cards. It's probably impossible actually to play all 8 of your cards because they can be very expensive, and you don't really need to do that. You don't have enough time to do that. But anyway, so the rule is whatever artifacts you have played in front of you are your required TBR prompts. So I went ahead and I assigned a prompt to every single artifact. So there's just like generic artifacts, like here's an example of one. So it's a cursed skull. So I tried to come up with prompts that would fit like the theme of the card, just kind of what the card represents. So there's artifacts. There's also, there's still artifacts, but they're a little bit more specific. There's dragons in the game. So for the dragon cards, here's an example of a dragon. So here's a bone dragon. So for the dragons specifically, I said still a prompt, but they are based off the cover, the color of the cover. So each one I did, like water dragon, you have to read a book with blue on the cover. Earth dragon, a book with green on the cover, something like that. So that's how the dragons work. And then another type of artifact is a creature. So for example, this is a golden lion. He's a creature. That's the creature symbol. So I did, again, more prompts. These are kind of a mix of types of cover or just prompts that I think go with the creatures themselves. And then the last one, and they're either neutral, kind of a neutral prompt. Sometimes they're positive, so neutral, or a positive prompt, like something that sparks joy, or something that sparks joy, or a neutral prompt, like a one-word title, things like that. And then the last type of card I wanted to talk about, if I could find one. By the way, this includes the expansion for the game. So these not all these cards are in the base game, just in case you went out and bought the game and was like, Marissa said there was this card and I don't see it. It's because some of them are from the expansion, which I highly recommend, the expansion. But anyway, so the last type of card I want to talk about is a demon. So this is the demon symbol right here. So for the demons, again, I just picked a prompt to go with all of them, but they're a little bit more on the negative side of the prompt. So if you're going to be playing a demon, you're going to get kind of a negative prompt. For example, like read the lowest rated book on your TBR, or read the largest book on your TBR, something like that. So those are the cards. So to summarize what we've talked about so far, so for your mage, whatever mage you choose, you'll get a for sure required prompt. Then whatever artifacts you have played in front of you by the end of the game are also on your TBR. But some other added rules I put in. So the first player token, at the end of the game, whoever has the first player token has to read the first book in a series. So again, this is a required prompt. I thought that went really well together. First player token, first book in a series seemed to make sense. And then finally, one of the last little rules I came up with is the monuments. For any monument you have bought during the game, you are allowed to nullify one of your prompts. So basically, one of your required prompts, you can choose to ignore it. So that's kind of the generic gist of the rules. And I feel like that was a lot of information, but it makes sense. You'll see Peter and I playing the game, and then we'll go over what cards we ended up with and what our TBRs are. So hopefully it'll all make sense. Oh, I almost forgot. The only other rule, or one of the other rules, is that whoever wins the game, because it is a competition, and I wanted to make sure that we are trying our best to win and not just focused on what our TBRs are going to be. So to make sure that happens, the last rule is that whoever wins the game has to, or gets to, pick a book for the other person to read. So basically the loser has to read an extra book that the winner gets to choose for them. So kind of a little punishment there. So again, that was a lot of rules, but basically I'm gonna cut to past me and Peter playing the game, and then you'll see what cards we ended up with, and then I'll come back and explain what my TBR is gonna be based on the cards that I got from the game. Cool. Here is the setup we have for our game of Res Arcana, and then we'll talk about who our mages are. So you wanna go first?
I am a witch. Witch could get green or blacks, which is life and death.
Okay. And I am the diviner. So I get to, I collect a red every round, and I get to draw 3 cards, add them to my hand, and then discard 3 cards. So I'm probably just going to do that on the first round and then never again. We have like the same strategy, except I'm going like death and fire, and he's going life and water. That's hilarious.
What?
We're like the same strategy, but opposite.
It's a sacred grove and a sacrificial pit. They're different-ish. Alright, I still have plenty of actions to do.
Oh, great. I've already lost, haven't I?
No. I do these combos, and then Marissa still wins.
I don't know.
Sometimes simple is better. Wow.
And I didn't discard anything, right?
I'm like not even close to winning.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
All because I got this Sorcerer's Bestiary and I didn't realize.
Well, because it's only worth points if you have creatures or dragons. And
Yeah.
You don't have any creatures or dragons.
I thought I was going to be able to play my Sea Serpent. I didn't realize.
You have, how many? What does the Sea Serpent cost?
6 blues. I didn't have 6 blues because I spent a bunch of blues on the Sacred Grove.
Mistakes.
Anyway, I have a golden lion now. I'm so cool.
It's kind of late for a golden lion. Alright, well, I'm going to get that great pyramid.
So lame, hacks, cheats. I'm the witch here. Why are you making up?
I'm kind of like a warlock or something? Is a diviner like a warlock?
No, yeah, kind of.
What's a warlock? I don't know fantasy terms. Anyway,
we only read fantasy books all the time.
I got a great pyramid. It's worth 3 points. Okay.
I will tap my Sacred Grove with my golden lion, and I get 1 measly point.
but I can get some more gold. I could take 3 blacks and give you a black.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Might as well, because we somehow tied. I need to have more resources than you to
I have
break the tie.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. 7 points.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
9, 10.
9, 10. Exactly 10.
Mm.
Woo! Victory!
Peter's gonna win.
I really thought you were.
Well, and per our rules, like our rule set, the monuments negate a prompt.
So now I could negate 2 of my prompts. If I wanted
Yes.
to.
So currently she has 2 monuments and an artifact and a mage. You negated both of your prompts.
If I want,
If you want.
have to.
I know. It's just I have 1 monument though. I got 1 monument.
Yes, I ended up with a diviner, a jeweled statuette, and 2 monuments. And, that nice sacrificial pit that gave me all the gold. Wah!
You just sacrificed an earth dragon.
Okay, hi, I'm back. So hopefully you saw clips of Peter and I playing the game, and then now I'm going to explain how my TBR is going to be. What is going to be on my TBR, and Peter will do his later. So for me, during that game, I ended up as the diviner, was my mage. So this is the diviner again. So the prompt that correlates with diviner is that I have to randomize my TBR. So I randomized my TBR. Not going to show a clip of that because we took a clip of it, but it's going to be way too long. So just to summarize, I rolled a die and looked at my TBR shelf, and this is the number that I got was for this book, and that is The Fireman by Joe Hill. I didn't know a ton about this book, but so I did read the summary again, and it says it's actually about a plague called dragon scale that is highly contagious. So I did not realize going to this that it was about a plague, but it's appropriate for these times, I guess. Anyway, so this plague called dragon scale is going around, and it's causing people to spontaneously burst into flames. So kind of spontaneous combustion, I guess. And it says there's no cure, no one is safe. And then I guess it's following a nurse named Harper Grayson, and how her and her husband decided kind of to, they went down different paths during this plague. So Harper is pregnant, and she kind of goes her own way, and she's just trying to survive with her unborn baby. And then there's this guy called the Fireman who has dragon scale, but he has apparently learned to control the fire and can protect himself. So yeah, that's all I know about it, just reading the summary on the back. But it's Joe Hill. I definitely want to read more from Joe Hill, so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you. I actually had that on my radar, so it's kind of nice that I got that as a random prompt. So if you've seen Peter and I play the game, you'll know by now that I won. So yay. The only artifact, I guess I only had one, that I had played that I still had at the end of the game was the jeweled statuette. The prompt that goes with the jeweled statuette is to read a hardback. So pretty generic prompt. I had many hardbacks to choose from, but I really want to read Wings of Ebony. So I got this book very recently. I ordered it off of Amazon and had no idea that it was going to be signed. So I got this in an Amazon deal and had no idea that it was going to be a signed copy. So, I was very excited to receive this in the mail. But anyway, this is a debut author, JL, I believe, and I don't know too much about the book, but I know it's an urban fantasy set in Houston, which is a city I'm pretty familiar with, and it says something about there's half gods, half humans, and I can't see there's some evil lurking, and it's about, so it's following Rue, and let's see. Oh my god, her mom is murdered. That's not a spoiler. That's here in the summary. So Mom's is murdered, and Rue has to go live with her father, who abandoned her at birth. And the father takes her to his home, Gaizon? I'm not sure how to say that. A secret country of gods who wield a powerful magic. And I guess Rue finds out that she's a half god, half human, but her existence as a half god, half human is a crime. Very interesting. All I really know is it's urban fantasy. It's by a black author. It's following a black main character, and that's like everything I need. This cover is amazing. It is so gorgeous. Like I can't stop looking at it. As soon as I got this in the mail, I was thrilled. So, and it's short too. It's only like 360 pages. So for a young adult fantasy, well, for any fantasy, that's pretty short, but I've heard good things, so I'm excited to read it. So that's what I have for hardback. All right, and then besides my TBR picks based off the Res Arcana TBR game, which doesn't have a name of any kind, so we'll have to think of a name for it, so it's not the Res Arcana TBR game, because that's way too long. But other books that I have to read this month. So first one is for my book club I have with my friends that we do every month. And the pick for this month is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. I've started this, but I need to finish it very soon because book club is less than a week away. So I need to finish this. This is kind of priority number one for me right now. But basically, I've heard this is like the Hunger Games mixed with Greek gods. I have started reading it, and I gotta say, I'm not really jiving with it. I've never read Alexandra Bracken before. And the writing style is just not really doing it for me, but I'm going to try to push through. I'm at least going to try to read as much as I can so that I can discuss it with book club, but I don't have the highest of hopes for this at the moment, but it is very, very pretty. Again, another like stunning book. It's so beautiful, and like, oh, it's so pretty inside too. Anyway, I love the look of the book, but I don't know if the inside's gonna match the outside, so we'll see. All right, other things that I'm prioritizing finishing this month are some books that I had started before, but haven't finished yet. So first one being A Respectable Trade by Philippa Gregory. I'm not too far into this. I'm only like that far. This book is basically going to be on my self-destruct list that I'm just making up right now. But basically this has been on my TBR for years. It's been on my shelf for years. I just kind of picked it up randomly like many, many years ago. I don't even remember where I got it or why, but I just picked it up, and I think it was basically a cover buy, but like I haven't read it yet, and I'm this far in. It's very, very dense. Like the writing is just dense. It's a historical fiction. It takes place in the 1700s, late 1700s. Has to do with slavery and the slave trade, and these like, well, they're not really nobles, but basically this woman is into this like marriage of convenience, and he's in the trade business, and then he starts trading with getting slaves, and then like to sell. And then she has, as his wife, she ends up having to be like a tutor, I guess, or some, like I said, I'm not that far in, but I think she has to be like what's the word I'm looking for? A governess for these slave children. And yeah, it's obviously like heavy topic, heavy themes. And it's honestly made me a bit uncomfortable reading it. So I don't know. I'm going to try to push through and finish it or DNF. I want to make a decision. Like either I'm going to read it all or I'm going to just give up on it and get rid of it. So, but I'd like to get a little bit further in before I completely give up on it. So that's another book I want to finish reading. And then just a couple more that I'm in progress. So the next one is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I'm not going to go into what this is about because it's all over BookTube and it's all over everywhere, I feel like, in the book community. So I'm not going to go over it too much, but Basically, it's a fantasy romance, pretty heavy on the romance. I'm a good chunk of the way, but it is a long book. Don't let the this is the hardcover edition, like, but if you've seen the paperback, it's ginormous, so like don't let that fool you. This is a long book. But I'm enjoying it. It kind of reads like fan fiction to me, so I'm not like taking it too seriously. I'm just trying to like enjoy myself and just have a good time with it, which I am for the most part. So I do want to get through from Blood and Ash and then, you know, move on to the sequels, because I heard the third one is coming out soon. I'm not sure if it's this month or just this year, but yeah, do want to carry on with that. And finally, a book that I've started that I need to continue with this month is The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. I feel like there's a lot of glare there. You can see I've got my bookmark. I'm a little over 100 pages through, so I'm like literally like 1/7 of the way, because it's over 700 pages. So it is a chunker, but this is the last book in the Daevabad trilogy. I'm enjoying it. It actually reads pretty quickly, so even though it's a big chunk of a book, I feel like I can get through it hopefully within the next week or so. And then the last book that I have to read this month, and this is for the Throne of Glass read along, and that is Crown of Midnight. So this is book 2 in the Throne of Glass series. So I read Throne of Glass and the Assassin's Blade in previous months, and now this is going to be where we are in the read along. I'll leave links to the read along Twitter down below. But yeah, so I just got my copy of Crown of Midnight, and I'm glad that I feel like this is like the last short one in the series. All the rest of the ones in the series are chunkers, but I don't think I'll have a problem getting through this one this month. But that's it. That's all I have to read for March TBR. But here's what I've got. Oh boy. Oh, here's what I've got to read. But at least the TBR game only gave me 2 prompts, so the rest of it, you know, I've got the rest of the month to read basically all these and whatever else I want. Alright, I'm gonna end it here. Hopefully Peter will put his TBR in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.